And I think also being a real estate family takes a lot of sacrifices on everybody's ends, right? Your spouse, your kids, the parent. Um, and I think that
You say you hire a VA to help you hold accountability, and you brought up a VA. People ask all the time, when should I hire a VA? Like, at what point do you recognize that, oh, maybe I should do that?
when you're asking, no, I'm kidding. You start
Yes,
to have the thought.
yes.
I think that it is very important to start looking to leverage in any capacity when you are finding yourself close to burnout, when you are spending a lot of time doing things that you don't enjoy,
Yeah,
when you are starting to sacrifice things that are important to you for business.
yeah.
So, a VA is, I live by VAs. I have 4 VAs. I love them. They're an integral part of my life and business. And then I also have in-person, help as well. But I think that when you notice yourself a pattern of dread doing things that will help catapult your business, but you don't like doing them,
Yeah.
right? And so there's a really cool EOS tool, delegate and elevate. So it's if you go on EOS, there's free tools, but it's delegate and elevate. So you start talking about things that you love doing and that you're great at doing, things that
Hmm.
you like doing that you're good at doing, things you don't like doing but you're good at them, and things that you don't like doing that you're not good at. And
Ah,
the and they're in a quadrant. And the minute that you start finding those core tasks, I
yeah.
just keep it on your notepad. Every time you start doing something that you can either leverage or that you don't like doing, you start putting it on there. And that's going to be your task list to build on, or your job description for your VA.
So, Lisa Archer?
Yes, of course, from North
Okay,
Carolina.
so one of the things that she shared, that I share all the time, she says, get a big stack of those little note cards, 3x5 note cards, and write down everything that you do. Everything, every day. Check emails, whatever it is. Write it all out, then at the end of the week, put it all out on the floor, categorize it. And then she says, take that one, once you get them organized and the stuff that you're not good at that sucks your energy, start giving that one note card to somebody else and
I
just
love
give it
that.
away one note card at a time.
Yep.
Because what I was finding that I was doing and I was screwing up is I would give somebody the whole book of stuff to do. Do this. And
Mm,
then they were overwhelmed. And then they'd give it back. And then they'd come back and say, how do I do that? I'm like, forget it, I'll just do it myself. Forget it, I'll just do it myself. Forget it, I'll just do it myself.
yep.
Next thing you know, I was back to doing everything myself because I overwhelmed them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like, I do a lot of looms when I'm doing things to help. Record
Oh,
myself looms and Tango. It's a Chrome extension, Tango, and it does step by step. It knows where you click. It takes screenshots. It gives the website. So it builds an SOP like that.
wow.
So when you start doing those things, so my don't like category, and this is a really good team exercise, Bettina. So with all your VAs, your staff, your agents, everybody, I learned a lot of things like, hey, hold on a second. Like we've got Mike over here doing this and he doesn't like doing this, but Tracy likes doing that. Tracy should do that. That brings her joy. So really, really cool.
Mhm.
But mine are all based around tedious details. So it might be like social media. Like I make myself do my social media, and it's only because Kenny Fast and Elias are telling me you need to do your own social media. But in terms of graphics, MLS input, MLS searches, database management, no, thank you. I'm going to send you a screenshot and I want you to, like anything with details, I don't like doing it at all. It's too slow. It's too mundane. You'll hear also the theory of find out how much you're worth an hour. Anything
Mhm.
below that you can offload. But I'm a really big believer in there's got to be some logic around it, but I think that real estate is so easy to burn out and you have to trust your gut and the feelings. Things that you don't like doing, you got to get rid of.
Yes.
No, we got to eat the frog. Like, there's some things that like I can't say, "Oh, I don't like doing listing." Well, I can say I don't like doing listing appointments, but if I don't do listing appointments, there's going to be a financial consequence. Now,
Right.
do I like preparing for a listing appointment? No, I do not. Do I like prepping the listing paperwork? No. Okay, easy. My VA does that. Do I
Yes.
like sending an a calendar invite and reminder? Absolutely not. There you go. So all of those types of things around a listing appointment, which is a huge income producing activity for me, but I
Yeah.
don't like doing all the tedious detailed paperwork and all those things. Great.
But you can
So,
just show up, have it all magically done, show up and be there and be the expert in that in your
yep,
field.
I do. And you know what? That gives me more time and energy to focus on my objection handling, my craft of my listing presentation, what I do like, what I don't like, all of those things to go and get those listings, which is
And get your
really,
25 points.
and girl, that 25 points is like so exciting. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna use today as my 100 point day because the thing is, you want 2 listing appointments, I'm done for the rest of the day. And I tell my team, if you do a 100 point day and you get it all done, and that's all that you're going to give for the day, and you get it done in 3 hours, be done. Go
Right.
treat yourself. I guarantee if people followed that 100 point day or hyper focused on the activities, the income producing activities like that, you could do this part time.
Oh, and that's how people do it part time. And I love that you're not just saying 100 points 5 days a week, seven every single day, 3 days a week.
Yeah, because it is tough. But you know what happens? You get so used to that rhythm of
Yes.
focusing on, what you focus on expands, right? You get
Yes.
so focused on seeking and searching the income producing activities that your mind is going to gravitate towards that. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not hard. It is. Some days I struggle. I love when I'm at the office and I'm getting ready to leave and I have 2 agents sitting there who said, you know what, today's my 100 point day and I haven't gotten it. I got to crank out some calls. So,
That's where they compete against themselves.
yep. Yep. And it's also where those are going to be the successful people, you know? And it
Mhm.
is. The people who are focused on the income producing activities on my team are the ones who are making the most amount of money.
Okay, that brings me to how every so often you meet somebody and you're like, oh, this person's going to be, I feel like this person is going to kill it. Have you found any like common denominators on, oh, this person I feel so confident in them that I'm excited for them. And on the opposite, when you meet somebody and you're like, oh, they really just maybe just need to call it a day.
Yeah. So I'm not tied to their results because
Mhm.
it's their results, but I like to set myself and my team up for success to not burn through people. But I would say number one, they have to match our core values. So
Yeah.
if they match our core values, yes. But I think the biggest indication of somebody's success starting out is how open minded they are to have somebody else lead them down a path they've already been down. So, what I
Wow.
say by that, yep. So, I'll do things like mock listing appointments or mock walkthroughs.
Hmm.
I have some people on my team who sound just like me. Those are the ones who are successful. They record me, they watch the videos, they practice,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
they don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
They are open minded to say, hey, you know what? I trust Brittany. She's successful. We're going to do it that way. Now, I'm always open to the collaboration of doing things differently for sure. But people
Right.
who fight the system or fight the process, those people don't make it. And I
Yeah.
see it 100% where they're constantly questioning or poking holes in like the way that we have things set up, or they're like, yeah, I like that, but I'm going to do it this way.
Hmm.
Literally, you could just about lay out people based on their open-mindedness to follow the systems and pattern and success. And those who think they know it best, you can almost track them down.
Wow. That's funny because you bring that up, and it just Juan was having and I were having this conversation about coaching in soccer. And it's that coachability.
Yep.
I think that's people call it coachability, you call it so many other things, but just that ability
Yep.
to be coachable makes such a huge difference in somebody's success
Big
in
time.
every area. And
Yep.
it's such a common theme. You know what? So you've won a lot of stuff, like the Best of D magazines 5 times, 500 top producer 3 times, right? What did those mean to you?
Yeah. So I think that I'm not a high I in that sense that I need constant recognition, right?
I know this about you.
But it does bring credibility and validation to what you do. The same with like, iconing. I think that the Impact Award, winning that from top producers, meant a lot because I am very intentional about making sure that I am not just a successful person for myself or my family, that I'm a successful person for my community and for people who need it. So that did mean a lot for me and to me. And I appreciate that people thought enough of us, to vote and to take their time out. So I'm incredibly appreciative. But the awards, I think, are more about the credibility and validation for what you're doing. So sometimes I'm kind of torn on that. While I appreciate it, it's not something that I need to have to propel my boat. You know, I'm pretty self motivated and do a lot of things for myself and really for my kids. And but it's nice to have that recognition, if that makes sense.
It
Does that
does. Well, I just know, and I love, like you said, the Impact Award. I think that's because of that, because you're like, I'm just going to do the right thing because it's the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
integrity. So I tell my kids, I have lots of Airbnbs. I make all my guests say this, do what's right, not what's easy. And that is my life's motto because it is so tempting in our world, in our society, in real estate to do what's easy, but that doesn't always mean it's the right thing to do.
yeah.
I have a very brilliant son, very brilliant son. And sometimes when you are blessed with the gift of intelligence, you also are blessed with the gift of how can I cut this corner to make sure that we can get this done? So I tell my kids, like,
Efficiency. We call it
oh,
efficiency.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They'll say, is that the right thing to do? Like that's the
Mm,
easiest way to get there, but is that the right thing to do? Is that what's going to make the most impact and
mm.
have a good ripple? You know? And so I think that goes back to that integrity and it goes back to, just making an impact on people. I think, and I say this a lot of times, and I'm thankful for the impact that we do have on other agents because real estate is really rewarding. It's very stressful, but it's really rewarding. And we get the opportunity to make thousands of dollars in a month like no other industry that I'm aware of. And so it's great, but then what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Are you setting aside something to give back to our community, to give back to society, to pour back into other agents? It doesn't always have to be money.
How are you impacting? So, how are you impacting your community?
Yeah. So every month, one time per minimum, we give back. We spent about the last year and a half, specifically giving back to Embrace Texas, which is a local non charity in the McKinney area. They have the Collin House, which is a home that they house foster kids. Even though we're like the third most affluent county in the United States, by the way, we have a very high population of foster kids, which blew my mind. And
Wow.
sometimes these kids, they house them in hotels a lot here, like a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the Collin House was established to have them transition. So, like, we will cook for them so that they have a home cooked meal so that they're not, because it's a smaller capacity. They also have advocacy for foster parents and foster children. To only 80% of people who foster kids don't foster for the second year. Bringing the education around that is because you don't have to be a foster parent to give back, you know?
I love this because we want to help. I know so many people do. They
Mhm.
don't know how.
Yeah.
What would
And
you
that's
say
what,
is like the first thing? Like, what are some things that we can do?
yeah.
Like, if you're like, do this, do this, do this.
And it is hard. It's hard to give back. Like, I was super frustrated. I'm lucky because I have a really good friend who's constantly seeking out opportunities to give back. And I was getting really frustrated. I called all these nonprofits. I went to nonprofit fairs, like almost like a job fair, and no one would ever call you back. It's
Yeah.
like, I am telling you, I am going to give you money, resources, people, human hours, elbow grease, whatever it is. And it is very difficult to find those things. But I have a very good friend, and she said, you know what, Brittany? She was like, you go to church every Sunday. Surely the church has a community. I'm like, oh my God, no way. We actually have a community director at our church. I was like, so I told him what we were interested in, and he set me up with these nonprofits that partner with my church, and we
Oh,
interviewed them, and we said, where can we give back and make the most impact? And so what I was getting at too, with like even Embrace Texas, I love them and I'm very thankful, but they haven't had kids in the house. So our opportunity, we've had to find other opportunities.
oh, wow.
So it's a good thing that you don't have kids in the house, but then it's like, oh man, now like we can't do what we were going to do to volunteer. So
Right.
they host a really big camp out. So we went and shopped for a bunch of things to give back to them. So that might be one way. We've also cooked, and then there's no one in the house, so we brought it to the fire department.
Mm.
But we've started finding safety nets and doing that. So Hugs Cafe is another really cool one downtown McKinney. We love it. You can only have 10 volunteers at a time, but it is really hard work. And we go in there. We made it tons of apple pies that they sell for a profit, to try to make a
Yeah.
profit, I should say. Um, we've done that. We're volunteering again with them next week. We've done Boys and Girls Club in McKinney. They always need snack packs. So I'm sure y'all see me. I post on social media. Now, when I tell you we have a diverse group, we have a diverse group. It is hysterical, hysterical. Because like the young ones don't know how to do anything. We just made Chex Mix. Like the funniest thing you could ever imagine. Like just seeing, we just laugh because at our own shortcomings. It's like, no, and you can tell who are the high C, who are really upset at the people who are trying to have fun, and they've counted all the baggies out, and the person who's thought it was funny mix those baggies over there. Like, so we have a really, really fun, but you could do that. But I say Volunteer McKinney has a volunteermckinney.org. Every city has one of these now where you have a place where you can get together and you can find volunteer opportunities. It is difficult to find what they call corporate volunteering, where you're going to bring a large group in. Samaritan Inn always does that. Samaritan Inn gets a lot of love. Casa gets a lot of love. So we try to find little ones where we can start finding our groove to where we're giving back on a continuous basis. So I would encourage you to do that. They need help for everything. They need help. I also am on the board and volunteer for the Aloe family. So what do I do? Well, we have, of course, monthly and quarterly meetings, but one of the things that I've started doing is they have 2 homes in Mexico. The guy who runs the home in Mexico needs entrepreneur, accountability, and they need EOS tools. They need to know
Oh,
how to add a signature on, how to add a signature on the bottom of an email, all of those types of things. So
yeah.
then we just give our time and energy and availability. You have a question, you don't know how to do something, you need to make a graphic, you have social media. We're there as a resource to give them and get these things going that my team does, and they love it.
Yeah.
So those are just like I know a big kind of vomit of all the things that we do, but we find it. We're constantly seeking opportunities.
I love that. I was actually, that's funny you talking about a board. I helped somebody who had a board, just things that I thought were obvious to us because we're in this business. She didn't know how to use AI. Like AI was a foreign concept for her. And
Yeah.
then like Google Forms to collect information to automatically put on a spreadsheet. Little things like that that has changed her and made her so much more efficient in
Yep.
her in her board, in her
It,
mission.
it's so funny because I use Otter, OTTR, and it transcribes on Zoom, or I use it on my listing appointments. Like I literally click the Otter and
Yeah.
I don't even take notes anymore when I go on listing appointments. My team goes back and listens. They know exactly what the price is, when it's going to come on the market, all that. So we have someone who transcribes all the time, and it was hysterical. And I was like, can we use Otter? And they were like, what?
I've been replaced.
I know, but they were like, now you just lost your job, as being the scribe. And I was like, no, but it's so much better because it gets you a to-do list. It tells you who says what. You've got notes, you've got minutes, you've got everyone can go back and listen to it. There's just little things like that you don't understand. You have a skill set to be able to give back and do. So we've
Yeah.
integrated that now. When anyone onboards on my team, they automatically have to go through the background check so that when we start volunteering that next month, they're on. I make
Oh,
that
I love that.
all the agents are 1099. But one of the things that they have to commit to being on the team is coming to team meetings and volunteering. So,
Well, that's being a part of community.
yeah. And it's
That's
part of our
being a part.
values.
Yeah. Well, I know we're heading into when school lets out, and this is a big time for a food drive to fill our food banks. When the kids
Yeah.
are out of school, the
Yep.
food banks really get.
Food banks and food drives are really easy. Well, another thing that we do too, you can always go on their website. They tell you what they most need. It's almost always peanut butter and, like noodles and
Yeah.
tuna, things like that. But we also have a flyer. Trader Joe's will give you brown paper bags. So you want to do something fun with your kids over the summer. You want to do something fun while you're doing an open house. Go door knock your farm, staple it to the paper bag, go drop them all off, come back a week later, or use, a landing spot. Like we have a physical office space, so we use that. We just did collections for purses for Mary Kay, for doing Success for Women. We said, hey, yeah, of course. I know Michelle very well. I'm like, use my office, have everybody drop it off.
Mhm.
We're a collection spot. But you could do the same thing with, doing food bank, raising it. Use a local restaurant. Do a mom and pop. These people want to get involved too. Like, hey, get
Yeah.
integrated with these businesses to know you're the realtor in the community. You're doing good things. Everybody wants to help. You just have to ask. And there is no easy button with volunteering, and I think that's why so many people don't do it.
Yeah.
So if you can make it's so easy. You're going to volunteer one day every month and fill it. And then invite your clients, invite your team's team, invite other people because everybody wants to help out. But it isn't as easy as people think it is. There's got to be some time and energy involved in it. And I do agree to that, Bettina. I wish there was an easy button.
I
I'm
wish
working on making an SOP for it, but it's hard.
that goes back to, don't do what's easy, do what's right.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think I want to do that. I want to do that. Because
Yeah.
I've been wanting, because it's been in the back of my mind. And I love that you pointed out the Trader Joe's brown paper bags, collaborate with them. This is something everybody can do.
For
And it's
sure.
really needed right now. School's about to be out. Is actually, depending on where you're at in the Metroplex, it's shutting down right now.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
let me ask you one last thing. If you could connect with anybody, who would you want to connect with?
Oh man, that's a good question. Um, I'm reading Worthy.
Oh, Jamie Kern
And
Lima's.
you know how Jamie talks about how she always wanted to connect with Oprah
Yes.
and she
Love
just
that story.
never did it, or like Tony Robbins and stuff like that. I think about that a lot, about how close it could be to connect with somebody.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My initial thought process when you say to connect with somebody would be my dad because he's passed. And I
Mhm.
don't know why I can't get that out of my head even when I saw you say that. But connecting with somebody, I don't know, it's really been in my head a lot since reading Jamie say that, and it's like in the first two chapters of Worthy. So I'm gonna have to say to be continued on that, Bettina, because it's been stewing in my head for a couple of weeks now. So
Wow.
of who I would want to connect with, and I'm not quite sure just yet. Isn't that
Just yeah.
strange? Isn't that strange?
Yeah. Well, not strange at all, actually. It's not strange at all. So, did she, I don't remember in the book or if she said this on stage, but she said, because you know how Oprah gave her phone number, said,
Yep.
call me anytime.
Yep.
And then she called her, and now they have breakfast together regularly.
Yep.
And she's Oprah's her guest when she did that
Podcast.
podcast.
It's in her book. And here's the thing that's kind of crazy. I think about all the time in terms of real estate. I have a phenomenal upline. I
Yes.
have everybody's cell phone number, but sometimes I'm reserved. We don't want to bother people. And that really resonated when she talked about it. It's in her book, and that's what I'm talking about. She says that she didn't want to use them. She didn't want to have these conversations, but who do you know that you could connect with that could be ready to change your life?
Yeah.
And so literally every morning when I get ready, my routine is almost always to listen to a book or a podcast or something. And so I was in my bathroom, and it just really, her stating that, who do you know that you can connect with but you choose not to connect with because you feel like you're bothering them? That's on you. They
Yeah.
don't feel that way. And
Yeah.
so it's really been sitting with me since I read it several weeks ago. I mean, I got the book the day it came out. So I don't know. That's that's a universe question for me right now because that's been brewing in my head, her stating that,
Mhm.
when I know that I have people's phone number that I'm stuck in life on and I'm not asking them. And why am I not asking them? Because just like us,
Yeah.
these people have already paved that path, but I'm hesitant to bother them. That's a me
So,
problem.
so one of the things that I'm supposed to do that kind of it gets that knot in my stomach is every Friday, what we're supposed to do, like in our community in my coaching, is do I have a bold ask every Friday.
Oh, wow.
And it's gotten easier, right? And I think doing this podcast, like asking people to come join, but it's like I get a little knot like, oh, and it's in my work. I don't know where it gets in my head. Like it's that worthiness. Like I don't want to bother, but I also know when other people say, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're busy. And I'm like,
You get annoyed.
like, I'm
Yeah.
not busy. Like,
Yeah.
how? you. Like, I want to. Like, I have time for you. Like,
Yeah.
help me. Like,
I think that it feels, everyone says like everyone wants to help, you just have to ask, right? And it's how you
right.
ask. I think that it is human nature ingrained with most humans, I should say, um, that we want to help and we want to give back.
Yeah.
But there is a pleasing aspect for us, or maybe a vulnerability aspect that we don't ask back. And so I'm in a spot in my life right now where I need help and I want help. And I've reached out to people on a personal level and opened up and was vulnerable and said, hey, I just need you to tell me how this looked for you.
Yeah.
But something about us, and it's the pleasing and the vulnerability aspect of it, keeps us from doing that with other people. And it's very strange. And that's why I tell you, that's been brewing and churning in my brain ever since I've heard Jamie say that, unworthy, because I think that we think sometimes we're not worthy of that, or we feel like we're going to be needy, or we're a pleaser and that's not, pleasing qualities. Or in real estate, you're supposed to know it all.
Yeah.
When you're a parent, you don't want to seem like you need help raising your kids. But I
Yeah.
think to myself, like, how am I showing up that my kids are going to see as an example? And that's been my thermostat, or I should say my compass lately, is that like, I'm not going to win an award because I took my kid to school every morning. Like I need to ask my neighbor, hey, my kid needs a ride. Can you do it? Or, in real estate, saying this is a really tricky transaction, and I've been doing this 19 years, but I don't know. I need your feedback on it,
Yeah.
or I really need to talk this out or vent it through. So, um, I don't know.
I
It's
like
just,
the way you said, or vent it through.
yeah, because that's what I like to do. I
Yeah.
like to say, hey, you're one that I can vent to. Hey, just listen to me for a second. Am I off kilter here? Sometimes we just got to vomit it out and I can process it. I
Yeah.
just have to say it out loud.
And to find that person also to say, yeah, that's not, you need to.
Yeah. But we've got to seek and we've got to surround ourselves around people who aren't always going to validate us.
And
Right.
I appreciate that about you, because
Yeah.
I
I
can
don't.
tell you stuff and you're like, no, nope. And to find that person, when you find that person in your life, just hold them close.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But
I
I always tell,
love you.
I tell people a lot, I'm a truth teller and I'm very direct and authentic, but I tell people sometimes, like, if you don't want to know, if you don't want that piece, I'm not the person to ask. If you don't want the truth, then
Mhm.
I'm not the person to ask. And so it's great because I have my best of friends all come to me to be unfiltered, but for me to find that reciprocal, because people are pleasers.
Yes.
They
It
think that
is
you're
tough.
looking, they think you're seeking validation, and sometimes you're seeking truth.
Yes. I agree with that so much. Well, I know you've got a schedule and
That
that
I
you
do,
would
my
like.
friend.
And I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bettina, for inviting me, and thank you for being you, and thank you for being a ray of sunshine we all need. So
Oh,
I am thankful. We say it all the time that, God and the universe lines people up sometimes. So thank you for doing this and for constantly giving back, and for you sharing. You've shared a lot with me and my family and my VAs and my staff to be able to help us catapult as well. So thank you for everything
well,
you do.
I love you so much because you reciprocate that.
Thank
And
you.
you reciprocate with integrity, honesty. And I know that when I'm straying, you will get me back. And you'll push me in areas I might not want to be pushed in.
That's right. We'll be jumping off the cliff. We'll be addressing things that you try to smile yourself out of, won't we?
I appreciate you.
All
I
right.
love you.
All
Mwah.
right.